I love the Clone Wars. For 6 seasons we got to experience the Clone Wars that we never got to see, in the massive gap from Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith. We live through the stories of the war, but I also think there is a problem with it. Like something that the creators missed the mark on in the series. And it's there are too many clones, or too few stories about them.
200,000 units are ready, with 1 million more well on the way.
And it makes sense. It is called the Clone Wars, but I think growing up I realised the clones don't feel important in their own show. And I guess it makes sense for the future of what would end up happening to the clones. But what I am talking about is we needed a set squad early on. In Season 1 Episode 5, titled Rookies, we are introduced to a group of clones. Heavy, Fives, Echo, Cut Up. They are responsible for operating a radar station that watches space from the Separatists attacking the cloning planet Camino. It gets attacked, leaving the clones isolated outside. Cut Up dies, eaten by a giant eel. Meanwhile, Commander Cody and Captain Rex are on their way to inspect the base. The droids who attacked the station disguised as the clones they killed, but Captain Rex straight up, without hesitation, kills the droid. He probably had aimbot enabled. Wait, I think Rex is a droid.
What?
Anyway, they both get ambushed and have to escape off the landing platform. Upon escaping, they bump into Heavy, Fives and Echo, and they agree to take back the station. Upon reaching the door, Rex thinks outside the box as an ARC trooper, tricking the droids to open the door. The clones take back the station, however the all clear signal has been tampered with and can't be turned off. General Grievous sends a squad to reinforce the station because the droids are not replying to his FaceTime calls. Should have texted instead. Not everyone has time for calls. Ew. The clones decide it's time to blow up the station. The clones fight the droids back, but are quickly overwhelmed. The bombs won't connect to the detonator. Heavy decides to stay behind to connect the bombs, but in one last heroic sacrifice he blows up the building manually. This is all well and good, but in one episode we have 2 named clones die, and that's a weird way to write a series. Anyway, Fives and Echo are rewarded for their valour and bravery, and we never see them again. Until Season 3. Does anyone see the problem here? Honestly, I feel the series should have been handled in a different way. Did anyone ever watch the TV series Band of Brothers? A historical retelling from the Stephen Ambrose book named Band of Brothers. In the series we follow a paratrooper regiment called Easy Company from their days in boot camp all the way to the end of the Second World War. There are many characters in the series, but in 10 episodes every character is given a healthy amount of screen time, so we become invested in them. In the series we follow the point of view stories of 8 different characters, while at the same time every other character gets time to be developed around the protagonist that we are following. And the series handles this 10 episode series brilliantly, and I think the Clone Wars could have benefited from this handling. Imagine if we got that, instead of the disjointed storytelling we get in the Clone Wars. Like when Fives and Echo show up again in Season 3, they appear for 2 episodes, and then they disappear again, only to be ARC troopers. And then Echo dies, but I feel nothing because we never get enough time to develop them, but also because Echo somehow survived the big explosion. So I generally think our group of clones should have been introduced in Season 1, from their training to the end of the war. And if any characters die, we would feel devastated, but also maybe a relief that they never fall to Order 66. So having Commander Cody, Captain Rex, Heavy, Fives, Echo, Waxer, Boyle as our focus clones during the war would have been good. Killing them off senselessly and not giving them enough time to be developed feels hollow. I would generally ask everyone to watch or rewatch Band of Brothers and see why that series' handling of its characters works so well, while the Clone Wars' handling of its clones feels empty. Like imagine, in Season 4 we have the Umbara arc, and a character who is introduced only a few episodes ago in the same arc, called Hardcase, sacrifices themselves. Again, new character added, and now he's gone. But what if we replace Hardcase with Heavy? We have 4 seasons of build-up. We could have had a character development around Heavy's need for combat. But as he grows, he just wants to get through the war with his brothers. War has tempered his need for violence and has also taught him patience. But seeing they can't get the ships through the ray shields, he manually takes the torpedo into the reactor. And like Hardcase shouts, "Live to fight another day, now get out of here," and in one heroic sacrifice he blows up the ship. That would have been gut-wrenching. Just remember, we had 6 seasons for big build-up of character development of all our clones. And the clones should have been handled like they are important. Also, the reason I say 6 seasons is because season 7 really wasn't a focus for the characters, and also because 5 was killed off, leaving only Rex, as well as Rebels undoes any questions of who made it through the war. I would also like to talk about the very first episode of season 1. We have a scene where Yoda asks the clones to take off their helmets and begins to analyse their unique personalities, how each of them sees themselves when it comes to combat. D. Bradley Baker did a brilliant job voicing all the clones, giving them all unique voices, but it would have been even better used if all these characters got arcs, instead of them feeling like background characters in their own story. I would just like to say again, I like the Clone Wars series. And to criticise something you like is healthy, because you can look past things you like and wonder what it would have been like if it was improved. And I know Star Wars fans get a bad rap for raging against each other for one reason or another. So I'd like to say again, this video wasn't made because I hate the series, but because I enjoy it. So anyway, in Band of Brothers in episode 3, we are introduced to Private Blythe, who seems to have his head in the clouds. He, like so many others, are connecting with all the other soldiers of their regiment. But as the episode goes on, he suffers from the fear that combat can bring, but from the inspiring leadership from Winters, also the cold reality check from Lieutenant Spears that helps Blythe break free from his crippling fear. There is a lot of emphasis on trophy hunting in this episode. Blythe, however, has nothing, but earns something far greater than any trophy: courage. Now, there is a Clone Wars episode in Season 2, Episode 10, titled The Deserter. In this episode, General Grievous has been hunted by Obi-Wan Kenobi. As the clones are tracking after the General, Rex is fatally shot by a sniper, into which Rex is transported to a farm so he can rest. As Rex is resting, he is ambushed by a clone, Deserter Cut Lawquane. These two spar with each other, talking about duty and choice. For Rex, he believes that is every clone's duty to serve, to be part of the most important event in the galaxy's history, while Cut argues that everything he is saying is programmed to save from the Kaminoans, while Cut has real freedom of choice, because he chose not to fight, and went out into the galaxy and had a family. Why did I choose this episode compared to Band of Brothers? I think it has something to do with what happens next. Cut talks about how after the Battle of Geonosis he ran away, when he realised there was no hope, when the droids were killing the wounded, and he was haunted by the battle, because he felt he was expendable. And again, I think that's what it feels like watching the Clone Wars. Clones don't have a lot of value, even named clones. It's mainly a show about the Jedi. Just a reminder that Band of Brothers was able to balance all its characters perfectly in 10 episodes. Meanwhile, the Clone Wars had 22 episodes a season, and they could have made room for its characters more carefully. Like, maybe get rid of some of those Jar Jar Binks episodes, or any episodes that feel like filler. I'm pretty sure when it comes to like season 4, there are so many episodes that felt like filler, until the Umbara arc. But what do I know? I'm just a person who makes silly videos. But what do you think? Do you think the Clone Wars could have benefited from giving its clones more character arcs and episodes focusing on them? Or do you think it could have been better with something else? Let me know in the comments. Until then, this is The Rising Fawn. Take care and good night.